ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
Zahrah, thank you very much, Aman, for that. So I've been asked to host this meeting. It's not really a meeting; it's more of a discussion formed of all of our youth that have grown up in Sutton and been part of COM. I'm going to just ask Sister Henna, who's been working tirelessly behind the scenes, just to give a very quick overview of why and how and why she's put this team together. Sister Henna.
Yes, my objective is we need to increase communication between youth and parents, and we especially this session about youth. We want to understand what they want for madrasa and for the youth session, what they like, what they are going to enjoy. So we want to understand, because the communication gap, I can see so much that the youth don't speak to their parents somehow. So this session, that's the main objective.
Okay. I also add on to that I'm getting old. I'm almost 150 years old now, and I've done a lot of work in COM. And I think now, more than ever, we need to kind of hand over that mantle to our next generation, which are you guys here. Each and every one of you is integral to all our youth and making it a successful community to live in. So I have a number of questions that Sister Henna put together on a questionnaire, and I'm just going to dive in and ask who would like to answer it. So the first question that we have from the youth questionnaire is, how should a madrasa work? Let's start off with Aman. Aman's got some good ideas. Let's start off with you.
Assalamu alaikum. How should the madrasa work? I think there's a few elements to it. One,
sorry,
in terms
Aman,
of
can you turn your video on, please? So it
no, sorry, I can't.
No?
I'm not at home, so I'm dialed in on my phone, so
Okay,
I don't have my video and everything set up. Apologies. Shall I continue?
Yes.
So I think there's a few aspects. One, in terms of content, I think the basics in terms of Quran and focusing on Quran memorization is one thing, and then also Islamic studies. I think those are the two key pillars of what should be, included. But secondly, and I think the more important thing than actually the curriculum or anything like that, is the kind of the teacher and the relationship that the students have with the teacher. The whole environment, I think, should be more geared towards enjoyment. It should be the case that the children or the youth want to go to the classes or want to come to the madrasa because it's a good time, rather than, oh, I want to go there to learn. Because from my experience, madrasas I've been to in the past, the ones that I learned and took the most from were the ones that I just really enjoyed. And even if that means a lot of the time of the class is spent on discussions, or just like playing around, enjoying each other's company and discussing, that's sometimes more beneficial than just focusing purely on the curriculum. That's for me what has worked, and what I thought works really well is that atmosphere of enjoyment.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Aman. There should definitely be a balance, and it shouldn't just be all Quran and Islamic studies. There should be definitely a balance, and that's definitely something you should definitely encourage. Anybody else have an opinion on that before I kind of go through an important point that somebody has raised on the questionnaire?
I do have just a point or two, if that's okay.
Yeah, who's that? Who's talking?
It's Humaid.
Humaid?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, there. I've seen it.
No worries.
Yeah, go for it, man.
No worries. Thank you. Rather than a point of what to do, there is something what not to do, but it's certainly something from my personal experience, which is a lot of the way in which the Quran is taught is rote learning, and children don't understand what they're reading and aren't encouraged to actually engage with the text. And it becomes more an exercise in memorization rather than an exercise in comprehension. And so when you do grow up with that sort of an education from a madrasa, and you reach the age of 20 or 19, where you can, by memory, recite chapters of the Quran, but you, to this day, don't have an understanding of what you're saying, I don't think that that is necessarily how an Islamic education should be taught, despite the fact that that is how it's done in most institutions. And so that's definitely something that I feel like should be avoided, that if we are teaching our children, and we definitely should teach them to memorize the Quran, but it should be accompanied with also learning what it means. So it's not just memorizing words that they have no comprehension of.
Yeah, and I fully understand. All right. Let's move on.
Can I just add something, if that's okay?
Yes, who's talking?
Mariam?
Mariam.
Yeah.
Where's Mariam? I can't see her. There you are, Mariam. Okay, go for it.
I
Mariam.
just wanted to add that I think something that a lot of our Saturday schools, madrasa, something that I think we're lacking is that kids don't feel a sense of progress. It's kind of like the same thing every single year. It's not like the school system where, you know, you go from year 1 to year 2 and then you go to year 6, then you finish primary school, now you go to secondary school.
Yeah.
So I think that we need some kind of system where kids feel like they're progressing, you know, like some kind of qualification, like you've reached level 1 or
Yeah,
you've reached.
no, you're absolutely right. Just to give it a bit of background, Mariam used to be one of my important helpers when we were doing the Saturday class, and she would actually help mark all the homework and go through and make sure to do the register and everything else. And I actually agree with what Mariam is actually saying. We need to have some kind of not record keeping, but way of kind of working out their progression. Are you still stuck, Saleem? No. Okay.
At some point, Brother Humaid had his hand up. I don't know if you see the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one thing, and it was sort of tying into what Mariam said about progression, is that if we call it a madrasa, but it's more of a Saturday or a Sunday school, and it's focused more so on children and their education, then if you look into how these things were actually done before and what the correct institutions and what the correct naming is, then it might be able to give a sense of progression, right? If we use what is a very confusing term, because some people consider it an institution for fifth, some people consider it a Saturday school, it definitely doesn't give that sort of structure that I think would be helpful in convincing parents, or at least showing them and showing kids that if you go to the school, then there is a progress, there are levels that Mariam was speaking of. And I think that would help with enforcement, because if parents see this as a course, and if children see this as a course where they're doing the same thing again and again and again, then it's understandable why they might lose interest. Whereas if there are levels, if there are stages, they do go from a maktab to a madrasa, rather than having children being in a madrasa, then I think that might be more helpful, in that it might give them a sense of achievement, that they're going to something rather than they're already there.
The system was working to a point. Saleem, can you hear us now? Are you? No, I can't hear you. On mute.
Sorry, Brother Ahad, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Farhan Ghalib.
Yeah.
We've basically spent half an hour of the meeting discussing madrasa.
Yeah.
Whereas our intention of this call was more about youth. And the same problem I had at other places as well, that when we define youth, we don't define youth properly. The United Nations definition of youth says youth are the people who are between 15 to 23 or 24, basically. And most of those people are on the call are between 15 and 24. And we are talking about madrasa, where we, teaching them Quran, teaching them, initial Arabic. should we move on and talk about more about youth issues, basically, the issues that these people really want?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum to all. Just a quick one. I actually didn't know what the purpose of the meeting is, but hearing everybody talking about madrasa, structure, coming late, attendance, alhamdulillah, that's all well and good. But I thought the purpose of this meeting is to get the youth involved, to serve the young people, and to get like a sense of community and a sense of belonging. And I think particularly with the younger children, well, sort of secondary school age, I think it's important that madrasa, or whatever you want to call it, Saturday school, needs to include these children and feel, like a man said right in the beginning, a sense of belonging and a sense of community and a sense of, I want to be there. I'm looking forward to the weekend because I want to be there. And it's like learning through play. So it's just, as soon as you get in, a casual, good relationship that you have with your teacher, who will be these youth, inshallah, that we have. So connecting through, a social interaction, and then doing maybe, 15, 20 minutes of hifz, having a break. And then I was thinking what the boys, Aman, Hamaz, and they were thinking about how introducing games. So like on a monthly basis, well, that's not been decided for sure, but something like whatever it is, badminton, squash, something like that, for these teachers, for these young teachers to connect with their students. So it's like a circle of friendship. So building that relationship with them, so that, whilst they're playing, whilst they're having a break, doing wudu, chatting, talking about like the Sahabas, the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how did they learn? They didn't have madrasa, they didn't have structure. It was like, we're going to eat today, we're going to go out to eat today. So they go out to wherever, eat together, sit together, and they're learning all the time, teaching the young children, say Bismillah, eat with your right hand, we're out in the park, okay, we're playing whatever it is, football, volleyball, badminton, whatever it is, okay guys, it's time to pray. Oh no, you don't need to take your shoes off, the Prophet prayed with his shoes on. Little things like that, throwing it in here and there. But the main issue of this meeting, I thought it was to how to improve that relationship with these young people, so that they can look forward to being with their friends, with their Muslim friends, and learning at the same time. So I don't know if is that the direct.
Can I chip in?
Yeah, of course, Hannah. Yeah, so go for it.
Okay, so I read through the answers, and it seemed exactly like Sister Shamina has pinpointed, is that the youth seem to feel quite isolated in managing modern day struggles that, things that they come across in everyday life, and they don't have a space to have discussions, open debate, to feel a place to feel safe, where they can ask questions about taboo subjects, and so I was wondering, is there a need perhaps for something to be set up where young people can build that sense of community, those friendships, which are really, really important. I think it's one of the things that I missed with my teenagers is understanding that beyond the teachings of Islam, actually what's going to really carry them throughout, into early adulthood, are those friendships that they build with other fellow Muslims who are of the same age and going through the same experiences at the same time. Things are of relevance, but also teachings that bring in contemporary, meaningful understandings, and things that are not based on perhaps such punitive doctrine.
Cool. Give an example. What do you mean?
There was a lot of mention in the answers about punishments and about rituals and about what should be done and what shouldn't be done, and it feels like there is perhaps behind that the meanings for it. Perhaps the meanings. Why is this behavior rewarded? for example, you know, the charity of smiling. Why is the charity of smiling rewarded? Okay, because it spreads happiness. It creates positive feeling in each other. So it builds a better sense of community. For example, this is a really small thing, example. Where's the role of mental health? Why is it of benefit for us to do salah beyond the reward, but for us to, you know, that mindful practice, the stretching of salah? You know, we've got all this modern stuff on Instagram about yoga and breathing and all of that stuff. We do that every day through our salah, for example. So kind of linking in things that feel more relatable while at the same time building those relationships.
Would mentoring be?
I think parents as well kind of perhaps struggle to talk to their children about difficult things like LGBTQ came up quite a lot, relationships, marriage when you get older, all of these sorts of things. So how can we support parents to have those conversations so that the parents' anxieties are not being expressed during those discussions?
Okay. Look, before we're going, I understand what you're saying. The basic nuts of it is, what do you youth want to see to make this work? Well, how do you think it'll be engaging for kids? What would you do? What would you implement? How would you do it?
I can probably answer this one, given that I had the experience for a term teaching a bunch of, I think 14 to 16 year olds, maybe 10 of them.
That's right. Yeah.
And in my view, I think it went very well. And all it was, I mean, all these ideas coming about, you know, we need to cover this. I think really you can't do everything. It needs to be really simple.
Yeah.
It was like when you come in, do some Quran memorization, practicing memorization, because that is an important part. Memorizing Quran is something that we have to do. Then we had the Arabic, but I think the Islamic studies is, for me, the more important, the Arabic and the Islamic studies. And then I think what's really important is having a teacher that can relate to the children. Obviously, having a teacher, for example, who's 60 years older than the children, different environment, not able to answer the questions that children have, or that the situations they're going through, is not going to be very helpful. But for me, just being 7-8 years older than these guys, going through the same school experience, makes it much easier. And I think that's a really important thing. That's one of the most important thing, I think, is just the teacher. Curriculum and all those things aside, the teacher is the most important thing. So having, I think, a section of Quran, a section of Islamic studies. I mean, the books that we had were very good. They're very simple. It doesn't need to be anything, dramatic, just going through a topic. And then just having discussions about, current affairs, Islamic current affairs. And that needs to be engaging. And for things like homeworks and things, in my view, it needs to be engaging homework. So for example, okay, go home, prepare a presentation on a companion. Next week, you got to speak for 5 minutes about this companion. For me, that kind of engagement where kids have to speak up is what's more important.
Yeah.
And that kind of relaxed environment, for me, I think is what's going to work.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I just finished my GCSEs, and it's like, when we get homework, and when it's like a long piece of homework, it's like, we're already really stressed about school stuff, and it's like we have to keep up on school stuff that we've missed. And then if we're given a big piece of homework from a madrasa, then it's like we also have to do that. And sometimes that just makes, from my experience,
I think
okay.
Just to jump in here, sorry, on this homework point. In my view, to speak frankly, I don't think a Saturday school should have homework. The only homework that there should be is, like I said, when it's these engaging things. So not written homework. It should be, for example, if you need to prepare a presentation or prepare something engaging, that's the homework that's more valuable. And that shouldn't be every week. So my view is that written homework, for example, finish these exercises. I don't think a Saturday school should have that. I think the only homework should be those kind of engaging things where you have to prepare a presentation or prepare something like that. That's personally my view.
Yeah, I agree.
If I could just add on to what Aman is saying, sorry.
Yeah.
I agree with what he's saying. Obviously, in terms of if you want to give specific tasks to do in the meantime, for example, preparing a presentation, so on and so forth. I think what happens is if you start setting these kids homework, for example, you need to go and memorize a surah between now and next week. It doesn't become something that they want to do. It becomes something that they've been told to do by a teacher. And then what will happen is it becomes a task for them as opposed to something that they're setting themselves a particular target for. So I've seen, you know, where we were encouraged to go and do whatever we could, and then we come back and we read to Abdul Latif or whoever the teacher is. He gives us the feedback, we go off, we do some more. But the second you start giving them set tasks, that's when, you know, how, you know, one of the other people was saying how they've just finished their GCSEs and it becomes overwhelming. And then before you know it, even though it's just something as simple as memorizing Quran, which you would have done anyway, it becomes another extra task which needs to be added to the to-do list. And then it becomes a burden, and then you start to become, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, or you become disjointed from it. So I think that's maybe, you know, like what you're saying, where it doesn't need to have homework, like Aman was saying. I totally agree with that, just in terms of getting a mindset regarding, you know, the madrasa should just be something you're going to touch base, to get a direction. And then most of the stuff is what you're going to be doing when you're at home, practicing what you've learned, reading up more on what you've learned. And I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, but there's only so much that a teacher can teach you in a particular amount of time. If you go to university or if you go to schools, you just sit there in the lesson, you do whatever the teacher tells you to, and you go home. You don't do anything else. You're not going to pass that exam at the end of the year. You're not going to remember everything by just going to a lesson, sitting down, interacting in those 2 hours, and then that's it. Close book, finish, next day, next week, next lesson. It's got to be an element of self-work as well. Yeah, and it's about motivating the children to do that.
I completely agree.
I totally agree. But that's I think what we're missing is that element. We're not just teaching youth.
All of these issues about homeworks and timetables, all of these are secondary issues. One of the main issues that I know a lot of other Muslim youth experience is that madrasas tend to operate in this kind of shell, which is detached from the realities of the modern world that we're living in. When we're at the madrasa, when we're in these sort of circles, everyone's saying, yes, Islam is amazing. Yes, we should pray, eat with our right hand. You should do this, you should do that. Yes, we should all be amazing Muslims. However, when we step outside of the madrasa, what the youth experience is that where in the world are Muslims actually succeeding? You look all over the world and you see the Muslim community in general, be it in the Middle East, be it in the subcontinent, be it in France, wherever, you see the Muslim community in dire distress. You don't see Muslims doing well anywhere. And so it gives the Muslim youth this sort of impression that the madrasas are operating in this kind of shell, and they become detached from the reality that we're living in. Madrasas, and this is a question that I put to the parents, that how can you need to be more focused on accepting, acknowledging the challenges of the modern world, acknowledging the state of the Muslims around the world, the problems that the Muslims are experiencing around the world, the general decline of the Muslim Ummah, and prepare the youth to actually deal with that reality and work towards amending that reality. Homework and memorization and all of these things will come later, but these are the big issues. How to be a Muslim living in the modern world, coming across these issues on a global scale in everyday life, and how can you deal with that as a Muslim, and how do you address these situations as a Muslim youth, as the future of the Muslim Ummah? These are the key questions that the madrasas need to be preparing us for, and this is an issue that is seldom addressed.
All right, thanks, Zaid. Adil, did you want to say something?
This is Sayyid Adil. Actually, instead of adding my points or giving idea, I would like to thank you first to arrange this discussion. This is very important. And the second part is, I want to ask a straight question to the youth. Okay, either instead of going in detail, the homework stuff or the minor things. I'm totally agree with Sayyed and Farhan and other guys actually mentioned that, and that's actually the big issue, you know. So that's why I'm asking the question to the youth of this panel. They should have to answer. They need a madrasa or maktab or whatever you call that, with the particular curriculum, or it's a small canvas, or you need an open platform to discuss your problem with the parents, with the teacher, whatever. And they should have to, feel comfortable, make a relationship, and ask any question, any real question, what they are facing in every day.
Yeah.
So can any youth can answer that one? What kind of platform they want?
So Sister Hannah has already said exactly what you've just said, and we'll come to that in a second. Abdul Salam, do you want to say something? If you're there. Okay. All right.
All right.
There he is.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, because I just think we've just been dwelling on madrasa for the last hour. You know, I don't know what exactly the topic is about. If it's to do with youth, I think we need to get more feedback from the youth in terms of what they require. But
not saying very much.
If it's to do with just madrasa, then I personally think as a small organization, we can't do everything. It needs to be very much focused. You see, we can't do this. Otherwise, we're everywhere. There's no focus. You need to be specifically decide what you want to do with the resources that you have. And we know that the resources are very, very, tight at the moment. And therefore, doing this, doing that, doing this, you're just going to lose focus. You need to focus on what is it that you want, and mainly also what is it that youth, we haven't asked youth, what do they want? We've got quite a lot of youth here. We should get feedback from them.
Sorry, brother, can I add in, please?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I think the issue that people are sort of a bit confused about here, and everyone keeps going back to the fact that, obviously, we're talking about the actual ways we can do it. So, madrasa, Saturday school, and what we should include. But I think the issue that people are confused about is the fact that with the youth nowadays, I think it's sort of living in the West, living in this country. I feel like people have been very neglected as a Muslim. They're afraid to stand up in front of their friends, in front of other people, and say that they're Muslim and they're proud of it, because a lot of people that I know have had this issue, and it's sort of people haven't been open up to it. They haven't really said, and they haven't stood up proudly. And so I think the best thing to do is sort of make people proud of it, and to actually have a community, and so they can stand up to people and say, I'm proud to be Muslim. Because I think what people do nowadays is they just they hide from it, and people need that community. People need to be around Muslims to sort of understand that.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, Hamaz. Look,
hi. Sorry.
Well,
can I just add to?
No. Wait. I'm in charge. I'll tell you when to talk. Sorry, Hamaz. Look, before you go on, I'm gonna, and this question is for all the youth. You need. So the question is, what would you want to see in a Saturday Islamic culture type school thing, right? So think about that. I think that's what Farhan is trying to get to. I think that's the point we're trying to address. Mariam, what did you want to say? You've got your
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is that whatever education system we have, I think we need to know what the true intention is. The intention isn't just for kids to know how to read, how to pray, these kinds of things, but a lot of these kids are asking, why am I praying? What do I get out of it? Does God exist? Those are the kind of things that you face in philosophy class or in school, I remember in my own experience, people ask me all the time, why are you wearing hijab? What do you get out of it? Does Islam oppress women? Things like this. It's not just about answering questions from people in school, but also answering them within yourself. Because we're not, our day-to-day life is not surrounded by Muslims. It's not surrounded by like-minded people. And the questions that come up, it's not just how do I answer this, but it's like, does an answer to this even exist? Like, do I even want to be Muslim anymore? Am I getting anything out of it?
Yeah.
So I think that is, and especially with things like relationships, LGBT, like when everywhere around you, someone is telling you that this thing is right, it's okay to be gay, for example. And, you know, if you're against this, then you're against human rights. Then how do you answer that within yourself? Right?
And that's a really good point. Somebody mentioned about that
as soon as we leave the madrasa or leave our homes, we do live in a very Western environment. And so we're surrounded by haram things, and we see that every day. Every day when we go to school, when we go to the high street, that's around us. And yet, as soon as we go back within our community, it's almost as if we're in a bubble. And so we're almost living these two different lives in which in one sphere, we're being told that it's okay to be LGBTQ. Israel is perfectly right in what they're doing, and where we get asked questions about why are we praying, why are we fasting, why do women wear the hijab, and then as soon as we move back into our community, not only is when we ask those questions, you're either shut down, or parents aren't receptive, or parents don't know the answer, or community leaders don't know the answer, or mosques aren't environments in which you can ask these questions. I don't think I've ever been in a mosque or in a community center where you can just go and ask a question you've got. And so you end up living in these two very different spheres. And you raise a good point about how, yes, it's a very small community and how it's a community-led program. And so we need to be realistic with what we can achieve. But if we can't answer, or at least if you can't answer Muslim youth having these questions about, at school, we've been told that it's okay to be LGBTQ. Within Islam, we're told a certain different perspective. How do we reconcile what we're being told? If at least that cannot be done, then the community is failing in providing for Muslim youth. Because at the end of the day, that's the sort of difficulties that we face. If we're being told that in Muslim countries there are terrorists, how do we address that? And there's very little support from the community when it comes to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Hamid. I've seen that in a lot of communities.
Can I just add something here?
No, sorry. Sister Zahra's got a hand up, so I'm gonna let her answer. If you want to answer a question, you need to raise your hand, please. Otherwise, it doesn't become fair. Zahrah, you're on mute.
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say just to kind of suggest something a bit tangible that we can actually do and kind of implement. And everyone's kind of said iterations of this already, but I think it kind of needs to be addressed specifically. I have a background in youth participation and youth engagement and how we engage youth with organizations. And the biggest thing that I found over and over and over again is the fact that if young people, youth, whatever the term that we're using is, if they feel connected to each other, they will feel connected to your organization. So whether that's a madrasa, whether that's whatever. So if we can build bonds between these young people, our sister Hannah said it, Aman said it, Ridwan said it, Mariam said it, if we can build these important relationships between each other, that's the most important thing. And obviously, we've all seen those madrasas where we've all been to those madrasas where you're not encouraged to talk to each other and you just have to sit down and read the Quran. I've been to a madrasa like that. It's not fun. I think we have come a long way since then. But I think team building exercises, and that can be so simple, and that's not hard to sort out. It's not difficult. I think Auntie Shamuna mentioned mentoring. I think some kind of mentoring program would be brilliant. I think with vetted and trained and able mentors, and we can very easily put together a training session for mentors. That's something that is definitely within our skill set. And I think that would be something tangible. And there's no need to kind of go into all of the issues that young people face. We know that young people are facing issues, and I think a lot of it is implemented from a young age, but also it's all about what we teach in those young ages that keeps them invested in Islam when they are a teenager. It's what is going to pull them back. Teenagers are going to rebel. They're going to find a reason to disengage from their families, sometimes disengage from Islam. That is a given. But I think what we implement during that time and before that time is important. An emphasis not on shame and guilt. That obviously teaching modesty, teaching haya is so important. That's different from shame and guilt. And I think shame and guilt is so embedded into how we are taught in madrasas. Teachers are sometimes not given that training, and sometimes, you know, your own judgment can kind of come flying in. So I think that is something that we should definitely stop. And also the idea that we shouldn't ask questions. Everyone said that we should be asking questions as well. But yeah, I just thought a tangible tip, without going into a TED talk, a tangible tip would be team building exercises. It could be archery, could be cooking, could be something as simple as just doing icebreakers, learning about something together. Somebody chooses a topic, you talk about that, have an open discussion. Very, very easily organized. That you don't need to be a genius to sort that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my.
I mean, yeah. 2 points. So somebody's just Hassan. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something. So one thing from, you know, I'm 19, and so when I was younger, it was like everyone said, it's quite hard to ask questions, and you feel quite embarrassed and stuff. So maybe one thing that's practical is like an anonymous, like maybe online, like you send an email to something,
Yeah.
and then someone who has knowledge, like a chef or something, can then make a video and answer it through that. So then the person doesn't feel like, oh, I'm embarrassed to ask my question, because, you know,
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea.
in a class, for example.
Yeah, that is a brilliant idea. Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Not so a generic email address.
Yeah, and it's anonymous, and then, you know, you don't feel like that I'm asking about something taboo or something, because no one's going to know anyway. So.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, brilliant. There's definitely a need for the youth, because they obviously have questions, and some of them are quite embarrassed. They must be able to go to somebody in confidence and be able to get some kind of coherent answer for them. I'm going to go to Horam. You put your hand up for a long time. Do you want to say something?
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, we're 11:15 here in UK time. We've had a fairly healthy discussion. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for that, for all the participants. What I want out of this is some practical measures, some practical outcomes. There's been talk about mentorship, mentors, mentees, sort of forums. What I'm after is something in terms of getting something established in initial stages, so that the communication aspect is there. And what I feel is that it's not necessarily going to be at maybe at a family level. It's got to be at the community level. It's going to need volunteers, where people are from, you know, who've actually gone through things in life. I mean, I didn't go to a madrasa, so a lot of this conversation about madrasas and so on is beyond me, but I've seen it, I know it, and the whole pedagogical aspects of madaris and so on is in stasis. That's my view anyway. But so there has to be that need to actually respond intellectually to the questions that teenagers and the youth ask, and that's got to obviously be based on knowledge. But more important than that, I think that forum needs to be established, that platform needs to be established, where that communication can get going, can thrive, and to allay fears that somebody may have, to remove doubts that somebody may have, to actually respond with ilm, and there are people like that, but not just ilm, but also from our experience. What I found in the past is that people will see the dunya first. I mean, we've done classes, I've done them in Regis Park most of the time with Sheikh Abdul Latif, where we would advertise classes for maths and science. Students would come in droves. If you advertise that you're going to be doing, you know, Islamic studies and hadith and whatever, you're going to get a lesser response, because people actually say, well, I've got some objective in mind, I need to do that, but it's the aspect of getting them together, and we've all agreed on participation and community effort for that. And what I feel that now at this stage in our lives, we've gone through the whole rigmarole of university and then work, and some of us, you know, have achieved, alhamdulillah, quite a lot, and we can pass on a lot of worldly knowledge combined with Islamic knowledge that we've learnt, and we can try and practically instill in the youth. So what I would like is some sort of takeaway from this session, to actually get a forum established where we can have volunteers for mentors, have mentees assigned to them, however we want to do it, it's a group mentorship maybe, or in one-to-one, and see if, because I feel that based on questions that have been answered, the youth, they've got deep questions that they do not feel that are being addressed. Thank you.
Okay.
I can answer.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I think once you do answer people's questions, like for example, the purpose of life, and why should you be Muslim, as opposed to you're just Muslim because your parents are Muslim or you've been told to, then yeah, that stuff like Quran and Hadith and fiqh and this stuff will just naturally come. But if you don't address the foundations, like the questions like, for example, LGBT and stuff like that, then it doesn't matter how much you ask people to memorize, for example, or to learn about Islam, then they're only going to do it because they've been told to do it, as opposed to them wanting to do it. So it's more important to address foundational stuff like questions and stuff.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to wrap up, but there's definitely a need for. There's definitely an urgent need for the youth to be able to answer.
I'm happy to facilitate open discussions that parents might, how can parents have those discussions with their children and with the young people that they're supporting. I think listening to what's been going on, I think we all kind of understand that perhaps the difficulty is, how do we have these communications? That seems to be the biggest question. So we had to think about what the barriers are to having these conversations. In terms of putting in something practical, because it is getting quite late now. I don't know, are there particular people who would and I'm speaking to the young people here who would like to help set something up so that we can open up a forum to start building on this discussion, so that we can take it forward to something that's more regular and a safe space.
I don't have to answer that now. I mean, we've got a WhatsApp group that Sister Anna set up. So perhaps if you have any suggestions or want to answer Sister Anna, then perhaps put it on that.
Do we have the young people on that group, or is that just adults?
I have the separate group for youth.
Yeah.
Okay. I maybe add you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jazakallah.
Barakallah feek. And can we give some chance for Farhan Ghalib and then Abdul Salam finally before you wrap up?
Yeah, go for it. Abdul Salam? He does not want to say anything. Farhan, did you want to say something? No.
I'll just say something quickly.
Nobody?
Does Ridwan want to say something? Ridwan, you there?
Yeah, no, I might as well just get the ball rolling. I don't think anyone's going to step up unless someone else does it first. So I think, no, definitely it's just one of those things where it's difficult to address everything, but there's clearly plenty of, I mean, each youth is going to have their own challenges and their own things that they want to get out of a madrasa. And it's about just taking one step at a time and not trying to do everything all in one go. And, this whole idea of mentoring, menteeing, I'm more than happy to take part in one of these things, if you want to use me to try and interact with the people that are slightly younger than me, to try and help get the ball rolling with this sort of thing, if you want to provide training and that kind of thing. And I think it's just something that where everyone's just got to work together, inshallah. It's not just got to be down to, Uncle Ahad and some of the other elders that are running everything. It's got to be, if you've got a problem, then you've got to come with a solution as well, or an idea of a solution, so that it's not just one person trying to run everything, that you give them some advice on, here's this problem that I'm facing, here's what I need, what are you going to do about it? Not just, I have this problem, fix it.
Yeah,
it's got to be a bit of give and take. And it's going to take time, but you know, it's something that inshallah, if we all work together as a community, it's something that we can set up and get going moving forward, inshallah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yes. Thank you.
Zahrah, did you want to say something? Because I know you've got a lot of experience with youth, and just a bit of background. Zahrah is one of the first people that did quiz online in the community. Zahrah, do you want to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, as I said, just repeating what Ridwan said, I'm more than happy to be used for my skill set as well. So if there is any sessions you'd like me to write, or training, presentation training, or even like any open discussions to facilitate, or team building sessions, I am more than happy to be on board for that. Or like, I think also when it comes to facilitating discussions around things that also, like, the knowledge needs to be there, but also the topical knowledge as well. So if you're talking about things, hard-hitting topics like LGBT or pornography or something like that, which do need to be talked about, and the community tends to shy away from it, it needs to be talked about with somebody who has the actual knowledge to talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think vetting people, training people, happy to do that.
No, thank you, Zahrah and Ridwan. We really need your help at this stage. And Aman, do you want to say something? Aman, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. No, to be honest, I think I've said all of my main points, and that's from my experience as a youth and my experience teaching youth. I think both go hand in hand, and you know, I think I've said the main things that I've wanted to say. So nothing else really to add. But yeah, I think going forward, I'm more than happy to stay involved.
Cool.
Thank you. And Humed, are you there?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, I'm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to do it. I mean, I think we've already sort of come with an idea of just, you know, to do once a week or once every 2 weeks, just a get together with younger kids, you know, play some sport. But you know, anything else as far as, like, you know, classes, anything to just sort of anything to help, really. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Perfect.
Mariam, are you there?
Yeah, I think that everything has been said. Like, just building on what Hamas just said, I think that like, in terms of moving forward, I think that our focus should be on just, you know, building those friendships between the youth, the older youth and the younger youth, and providing that training for those who are older, so that they are in a position where they're able to answer those questions when they're going to naturally come up anyway. Because if you have a close relation with someone and you trust them, then you're going to trust them with those questions as well. So inshallah, for all of us who are older, then we need to educate ourselves so that we're ready for that. And then at the same time, we need to be building those relations with the younger children as well, and the youth.
Perfect. Okay.
Rayan, are you there? Rayanuddin?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, it is really hard to like talk about stuff like this, because it's like we don't really talk about it, and in school you're like taught very different stuff from like what we're supposed to know in like Islam and stuff. So like, I know we're like supposed to ask like important questions about like LGBTQ and stuff, but I think the most important thing is actually forming a really close relationship, like, between everyone first, and then you can ask like deep questions like that. Because
yeah,
experience, I would never like want to talk about like that the first thing, because it's really hard, especially like talking about it with like an adult, because you know, you don't, like, we have different experiences and stuff. Yeah.
Hassan Taj, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I've said also everything I wanted to say, but yeah, I think that the point about people being like shy and embarrassed to ask questions, I think that really gets solved by the, you know, like whole anonymous online type thing. So like, for example, with this questionnaire, it was completely anonymous, you could say whatever you wanted, and so if there was something like that just every week posted, for example, on the com group chat, like, send your questions here, and Sheikh Abdul Latif will answer it just one by one. Like, for example, why do you pray? Why do women wear hijab? stuff like that, and just one by one, and then every week, and then you don't have to put your name or anything, and then people don't feel shy, and yeah, I think that solves that problem.
Yes, I really like your idea. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And Humed, are you there? Humed? I think all done, so you can wrap up now. Inshallah.
Okay. In that case, we'll wrap up now. Thank you, everybody on the panel that has contributed, and all the parents. But also want to thank Sister Hannah for putting all the hard work to get this up and running. I'm going to ask Ridwan to close the meeting, seeing as he didn't open the meeting, and then I want to share the rule with everybody. So Ridwan, take it away.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.